Committee, I think we'll go ahead and get started. First up today, we have the hearing on House Bill 2020. Adam, can you give us a briefing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2020 would provide that the implementation or use of a motor carrier safety improvement that would be required by the motor carrier or such motor carrier's related entity shall not affect, impact, or change the worker status of a driver. Under the bill, the term motor carrier safety improvement would mean any device, equipment, technology, policy, training program, or practice to improve or facilitate compliance with traffic laws or vehicle and traffic safety. And also under the bill, worker status would be defined to mean the classification of a motor vehicle driver under state law if the driver transports property for compensation as an agent, employee, or independent contractor for the motor carrier. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Questions for Adam? Adam, is this the same bill as last year we sent out on the consent calendar?
This is the, you're correct. I failed to remember the bill number, but this is a mirror of the exact same bill.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, we'll turn our attention to the first proponent, Lindsay Liebach. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you so much. Okay, so good morning, Chairman. I am Lindsay Liebach, Director of Safety and Membership Services at Kansas Motor Carriers Association here in Topeka. With me today is our Executive Director, Deanne Williams. And we are here representing our 700 plus members in support of House Bill 2020. Before we get started, I'd like to say that KMCA's mission at the heart is safety and strengthening the trucking industry, as well as making the trucking industry a safer place for Kansans. House Bill 2020 is legislation that will elicit safety benefits and improve the safety performance of motor carriers operating in Kansas. It will also allow motor carriers to pursue safety measures in line with independent contractors or owner-operators. Currently, Kansas law uses common law tests to distinguish an employee from an independent contractor. If a trucking company today uses, let's say, cameras, telematics to monitor a driver's safety performance and uses that information to coach or train that driver, the goal is that they'll see an improved safety outcome with that employee driver. If you take those same assessment tools and apply it to an independent contractor today, that can be seen as employer-like control. And this is currently the risk that employees or motor carriers are facing in Kansas. House Bill 2020 takes that issue away. The bill articulates that required safety technology and monitoring, as well as review and coaching, is a safety issue and then not an employee versus an independent contractor issue. After discussing this bill with the Kansas Corporation Commission and the Kansas Highway Patrol, we all agree that this is a labor and industries issue, and if passed, should go within Chapter 44 of Kansas statutes. And as Kansans, we all know that independent contractors not only play a large role in our economy, but also in our trucking industry. But this is seen even more during our Kansas harvest times and heavy traffic with trucking. But because of a unique federal regulatory structure, trucking companies are generally responsible for the safety of their independent contractors, while most other businesses are not responsible for their independent contractors. This bill will assist trucking companies in pursuing safety measures rather than facing the increased misclassification risk. By permitting motor carriers to pursue voluntary safety measures, this will not only benefit the truck drivers and the motoring public, but also trucking companies. Thank you for the opportunity today to appear before you on behalf of KMCA. We ask the Senate Transportation Committee to pass this bill out favorably to the full Senate, and I'll be happy to stand for questions at the direction of the chair.
I hate to ask questions and show how stupid I am, but I guess that's how I learn at an old age. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's say I'm an independent contractor. I'm assuming this is where you're aiming here. So I have my own little trucking outfit, and some company hires me to haul their stuff, but they say, we require you to put these cameras on or put this computer in that tracks you, or, and I say, if I say as an independent contractor, hey, I'm a contractor, you can't tell me what to do. That's what you're aiming at here.
Right, and so, yeah, as an independent contractor,
So,
you could choose not
If
to.
I don't do that, I'm not your employee. There's a peanut here somewhere. I'm just trying to find it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So along those lines, if you hire somebody as an independent contractor and they say no to, let's say, the cameras, but let's say something bad happens, then you are responsible or held liable for what happens, or is the independent contractor liable for what happens? Where does that liability fall?
Usually with trucking companies, your independent contractors fall under you, so for safety scores and everything else, that would fall under the motor carrier.
Okay, so this proposed, I have a follow-up question. Sorry?
Looking at them.
Okay, so this would align it such that since the trucking company, whoever hires them would be liable as opposed to the independent contractor being held liable for these safety measures, this would kind of align it with your responsibility as well so that they are required to follow the same safety measures as far as cameras and such,
Right.
and not have the option.
Right, yeah, so they have the option to say, if you're going to follow our safety measures, you can as an independent contractor. Another benefit of being an independent contractor is flexibility, so if, say, you don't want to follow those, you are allowed to leave and not have that same employee structure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, I appreciate the responses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You anticipated I had a question. How does this impact, or does it, other areas of the law, the employee-employer relationship? Is it amending just the motor carrier statute? Maybe a question for the revisor. I don't see a reference to a particular statute that this would be amending or placed into.
Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're right, this is a brand-new section. I know last year there was some concern of where it would be, inserted into the Kansas statute. Should it be enacted into law? Of course, that's ultimately a decision made by my boss, the reviser, of where things get placed. I think as part of, they inserted Section C of the bill to try and alleviate some concern that it would be put more under the labor and employment area of the law rather than the motor carrier chapter 66 or 66, which is, so that's to the best that provides a response.
Thank you. If I may have a question for the conferee. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you're saying that with this legislation, were it to become law, the motor carrier who has engaged the independent contractor would not be liable for the actions of the independent contractor solely because of the deployment, implementation or use of a motor carrier safety improvement.
So I don't know if it's so much liability as it is being able to train them and coach them and take those assessment tools that they can already use on an employee and apply that to that independent contractor. Instead of saying, well, I guess because you're not my employee, I can't exert that control. And it's allowing them to be able to do that and train them safely.
And you're not worried about the liability part? I mean, I'm thinking about, litigation. I mean, our trucks are on roads, highways, that's what they do, and you're not concerned about this change impacting that?
I feel that this change would help safety and liability in Kansas.
Lindsay, you may need to get closer to the mic so they can hear you online.
Okay, sorry. Because of the safety benefits, I feel like the liability, I don't want to speak too much because I don't know, but the liability and being able to have that safety issue structured so that they can coach them and train them instead of doing it, you know, being a little bit less, I don't want to say Wild West, but allowing them to further that educational section for their independent contractors would be helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What was that again?
A borrowed servant. Line 21.
I'm going to ask Deanne Williams.
Good morning, Deanne Williams. I would say the borrowed servant would be that independent contractor, because you are taking them from, you are leasing them onto your company, so they are going to work for you instead of working for themselves, is the way I've understood it.
Well, I just noticed it said borrowed servant or independent contractor for a motor carrier, so I didn't know what the difference was. So
Maybe it's one and the same? I don't know. I did not.
probably something for research then. Thank you. Committee, further questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Prasad Sharma.
Thank you, Chair Peterson, Vice Chair Clues, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify remotely before you today in support of HB 2020. My name is Prasad Sharma. I'm a transportation attorney in the DC office of Scopolitas, Garvin, Light, Hansen, and Fury. I've been involved in trucking for over 20 years, including as general counsel for the American Trucking Associations, which is the leading national trade association of the trucking industry. I'm pleased to be joined in support of this bill by the Kansas Motor Carriers Association, who you just heard from, the leading advocate for safe trucking in the state of Kansas. Although I'm currently in the DC area, I'm a native Kansan who spent some time serving the people of Kansas on Senator Dole's staff. Hopefully that makes me a little more credible than your average DC person. So you probably recognize the language in HB 2020 as the chair noted earlier. The same language passed out of this committee as SB 494 during the last session. It went on to pass the Senate by a vote of 39-0 before dying in the House, really for just lack of time. This time, the language started in the House and passed that body by a vote of 122-0. Make no mistake about it, HB 2020 is a common sense, pro-safety bill. Kansans are known for their practical common sense, which explains why it is passed unanimously. The bill removes an impediment to the adoption and use of safety technologies and practices by fleets that use independent contractors. By doing so, it will foster safer driving habits that benefit the driver, the carrier, and most importantly, the motoring public. So in 2017, the American Automobile Association, AAA, Foundation did a study and found that the deployment of safety technologies on large trucks can provide significant societal benefits in terms of crash risk reduction. However, the study noted that maximizing the benefits of that safety technology requires, they use the term depends on, driver monitoring and driver coaching. Now, this leads me to a situation I face all too often in counseling trucking companies, and the reason this law is necessary. A carrier may see safety benefits when implementing the technology with its employee drivers and inquire about using it with its independent contractors. Now, here's the rub. Requiring the use of technologies can be viewed by courts and regulators as exerting control. So can monitoring, coaching, and training your drivers. Therefore, I have to remind the carrier that pursuing the safety improvement with their independent contractors can risk making them employees. A carrier with independent contractors is left with the unappealing choice of improving safety but running the risk of reclassification of their workers, or foregoing the ability to implement safety measures to better protect independent contractor status. No amount of counseling by lawyers, even those far wiser than me, can thread the needle without some trade-off in risk. So HB 2020 is a narrowly targeted, common sense solution to that dilemma. It simply establishes that the use of safety improvements, things like technologies or operating practices intended and primarily used to improve safety, does not get considered when evaluating the status of a driver as an independent contractor or employee under any of the state's laws dependent on the worker's classification. What the bill does not do is equally important. It doesn't change any of the state's existing tests for determining whether a worker is an independent contractor or an employee, and it doesn't tip the scale one way or the other. The bill also doesn't mandate the use of any particular technology, but it does allow a broader swath of the industry to use or test out safety technologies to see what works for their particular operation. Oftentimes, legislation has winners and losers. Here, safety creates a lot of winners. The motoring public, who benefit from safer trucking companies, truck drivers, who also benefit from safer driving, and trucking companies themselves. I'm hard pressed to come up with a loser. The fact of the matter is, independent contractors are an integral part of the trucking industry. Therefore, the pursuit of safety should not suffer as a result of courts trying to determine whether a safety improvement is impermissible control. I think we can all agree that fewer crashes is the higher goal. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you again for the opportunity to testify, and I urge you to support the passage of HB 2020. I know there were some questions before. I'd be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time.
Committee questions for Mr. Sharma? Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a couple. Thank you for your testimony. First, why is somebody from DC interested in what's going on in Kansas? And then second, I don't know that you've thread the needle on this. I do contract work and deal with a lot of contractors, and I know the Department of Revenue has interpreted it a couple different ways on contractors. I've got some employers in my district that are also running into this issue. So I'm not so sure you've thread the needle on this. And thirdly, Mr. Chairman, this might be for the revisers, is how does this impact the legislation that we passed last year on driverless vehicles? I mean, I know, I'm just wondering the definitions, if it does impact. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. So as I mentioned, I am a transportation attorney in a national law firm. We have numerous clients that are trucking and have trucking operations in the state of Kansas. And so that's my interest. And I also have a long abiding interest in efforts to improve truck safety. And so your second question, I think, was threading the needle. And I'm not sure that I fully understand what you mean. But let me just maybe take a step back and try and say what we're trying to do. So the Department of Revenue is going to use a common law test to determine is a person an independent contractor or an employee. We're not changing that test. All we're saying is for motor carriers, and motor carriers are unique because they do have tort liability for their independent contractor drivers that are operating under the Motor Carriers Authority. Most businesses that have independent contractors do not have tort liability for their independent contractors. So motor carriers are unique. They're responsible for their independent contractors. What we're saying is they should be able to implement safety measures. And we've defined safety measures narrowly without that counting against or for independent contractor or employee status. We're just saying take that off the table. Everything else, so things that are of real importance for the economic, for the independent contractor versus employee determination, things like economic control still remain available for consideration. We're not changing that.
Committee, further questions? And I believe it's optional on the autonomous vehicles. So, it's optional whether the contractor would want to use them. So I don't believe it would affect that.
Chairman.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. Have other states implemented this change in statute to help define common law?
Yes, so currently there have been 8 states, I believe, 8 states that have passed laws that are similar to what HB 2020 does.
May I follow up? Were those recent changes, or how long have those been in place? And do you have any data on how they've impacted safety on the roadways?
So they've been passed over the last 2.5 years, roughly. So it's fairly recent. It's going to be a little hard to track data that's, specifically targeted or influenced by this type of legislation. But what I'll tell you, part of the reason why it's hard to track that data is because right now, one of the big concerns is that carriers don't do safety measures out of concern that implementing those safety measures with independent contractors will lead to misclassification. So you're kind of, what this legislation does is it frees them to do that, and kind of prevents or removes that impediment that exists today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the answer.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other proponents wishing to testify? Any opponents? Any neutrals? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on House Bill 2020. Turn our attention to opening the hearing on House Bill 2149. Adam, can you give us a quick briefing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2149 would allow distinctive license plates to be personalized license plates. I'm going to deviate from my testimony here and just kind of make sure everyone understands the terminology we use. Going back a few years, these terms have kind of intermixed with each other as kind of changes to the law. We used to have the standard plate when you go to a treasurer's office, and they used to hand you the plate. Now they print it and send it to you. Numbers printed off, that was kind of defined as the standard plate. There were personalized plates where you would, have Adam 23 printed on your plate, and then that would be what we define as a personalized plate. And then the distinctive license plates are the, entity-sponsored plates, the KU, the K-State, all the entity-sponsored plates. Those are distinctive plates. Under current law, personalized plates, you can have your name or whatever on a personalized plates, and now you can also have that on the standard plate. So that's, they've kind of intertwined each other there. But currently, as the law exists today, you cannot have a personalized plate on a distinctive plate. So any distinctive plate is just the numbers that are randomly assigned and generated and given to the customer. Under this bill, on and after January 1, 2024, any distinctive license plate may be a personalized license plate, subject to an additional fee of $40. Currently, distinctive license plates are subject to an additional fee of currently $40. And if you want to do a personalized plate, there'd be an additional $40 for a total of $80 to make a distinctive license plate personalized. There are currently certain license plates that are exempt from the distinctive license plate fee, generally military type plates. However, if an individual would want to get these plates personalized, they would be subject to just the $40 fee. They would not be subject to the whole $80 fee, like most distinctive plates. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Senator Dietrich.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being here, Adam, of course. You have to be here. So tell me, I'm missing something. Maybe it's just not enough caffeine. What would a distinctive license plate that was personalized look like? Can you describe it?
Sure. I'll step back. I went to KU for law school, so it would be like the KU plate. Then I would put like Adam on it, Adam 23 or something. Right now it would just be you get your KU plate, and it's a randomly generated numbers and letters. But I could put my name, I could put whatever would be appropriate on the plate. So KU plus Adam 10 or 23. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Committee, further questions? Seeing none for Adam. We'll turn our attention to our first proponent, Brian Fry, council member from the city of Wichita. Can you hear us, Brian?
Sir, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Senate Committee. I appreciate the opportunity. As Senator said, my name is Brian Fry, but I'm not here today as a Wichita City Council member. I'm here as a proud Wichitan. Nearly 5 years ago, I testified in support of the distinctive license plate bill that ultimately resulted in the Wichita flag plate. This has been an amazing program for our Parks Foundation. All the royalties from that distinctive plate has benefited the city of Wichita. We've raised nearly $500,000 for park projects all throughout the city because of our distinctive plate. And we've had nearly 6,000 flags or flag plates are now crisscrossing the state roads and highways. It's been an amazing sense of pride for our community, as well as raising necessary dollars. One of the challenges that we've seen, though, is the popularity of personalized plates. And from the very beginning, people have asked me, when would this ever happen? Could it ever happen? And so I'm grateful that the House presented this bill and that you're hearing today in committee. We believe it could really grow the program to even higher heights. And it's just not our program. It's the 35 other distinctive license plates throughout the state that could benefit from this. Again, you wouldn't have to choose between a personal plate or a distinctive plate. You could have one just like this. Senator Dietrich, this is what it could look like. I don't know if you can see that very well. But that's the proposal, is to be able to do that. So you wouldn't have to make that choice. You could combine the two plates into one. We believe that could really increase the program. Like I said, we have over 6,000 plates across the state. I know WSU has about 3,100 plates, and K-State has over 11,000 plates. This would benefit not only the royalty programs for these groups, but also the state highway fund. As the way the bill is proposed, the revenue from this program would then go to the state highway fund. And if we could just project 20,000 potential plates, that'd be another $1.6 million to the highway fund. So again, thank you for your time and consideration of this bill. We believe it has the benefit of, again, continuing to drive your pride and also raise good funds for both the agency as well as the highway fund. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Committee questions for Councilman Fry. Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. Would that license plate be for the chairman in this committee possibly?
Well, this one's not legal, so just a little show and tell.
It does look nice. I would ask if you would be receptive to an amendment on the bill that would require county two-character designation of the county that the vehicle was registered in.
Yeah, and I know that's been a consideration as well, and I think that is important. I know that can be a challenge for law enforcement, not having that ability to identify quickly. I have seen our flag plates in Johnson County, Saline County, all over the state, and it's very cool. It'd be really neat to see how many of those plates are originating from those home counties. So yeah, I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would say, yes, I enjoy seeing that plate across the state. It's one of the best design plates.
Thank you.
Committee, further questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other proponents? Are there any opponents? We have listed as a neutral, LaDonna Garcia, Vehicle Services Manager for Division of Vehicles. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Good morning. Like you said, my name's LaDonna Garcia, Vehicle Service Manager. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to testify as a neutral on this bill. When the bill was passed in the House, and an implementation of having the bill be passed and be signed by the governor, the division realized that it would be a benefit of all parties if the implementation date could be changed to January 1 of 2025. Just to give you guys some background, this fee would be a 5-year sequence cycle fee. So if it's implemented on the 2024, would mean that they would have to pay it 2024 for that cycle, and then turn around, and in 2025, when the cycle begins again, would have to pay the fee another time. This, we believe that changing this date would cause less confusion to the customer and overall make a process much smoother. We appreciate your guys' consideration. I'm ready to answer any questions that you guys have.
Committee questions. Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for your thoughtfulness. How much is the fee, and is there any way that you could bump it up a few months or something, or is it a January 1 deadline for the fee?
It's a January 1, it's a cycle kind of fee, which is different than what your registration fee would be. So the cycle fee starts every year.
So could we make an adjustment in the bill? Is that the only thing that's, or the logistics of the software or anything? The fee? So we could make an adjustment to waive the fee for a certain cycle or something in order to?
I would have to
Work
go
around
back and check, but I would believe so, yeah.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
just have to
Thank
go
you,
and
Mr. Chairman.
research it.
I just hate to delay it a year but I appreciate your thoughtfulness on the fee.
Just to let you know, I believe the fee is $80. So they would pay $80 2024 and then pay $80 again on 2025.
Committee, further questions? Seeing none. Oh, Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to clarify, you're saying the cycle is every 4 years?
The plate cycle is an every 5-year cycle, so we're currently in a 5-year cycle. We have one more year left.
So if they
It'd be
pay,
2024.
sorry, so for a follow-up question, if they paid in 2025, they don't have to pay till 2030?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the response.
And Senator Reddy, the royalty fee would be paid every year, like for a K-State plate. That would still be paid every year, but the personalization fee
It's different. Correct, yes.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing we have no other opponents, no other neutrals listed, we'll close the hearing on House Bill 2149. Adam, we had a bill yesterday on highway naming. Trying to recall that number. I think it's 2014 or 2019. 2014. Would you be prepared to work that today? You want to give us a quick reminder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2014 would designate a portion of US Highway 69 in Crawford County as the Robert Lesson Memorial Highway. Under the bill, the designated highway would be US Highway 69 in Crawford County from the junction with K47 Highway, heading north to the junction with US 69 and 650th Avenue. The usual sign requirements would not be installed until the Secretary of Transportation has received the cost of the sign plus 50%.
Committee, I do have an amendment I'd like to offer for this bill. I would like to change the effective date to the register. It's that time of year, we need to get some bills into conference so we can combine things. So I would make that as a motion, a conceptual motion. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Schallenberger. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, Motion carries. Amendment is adopted. Committee, what's your pleasure on the bill? Senator Schallenberg.
Move be approved as adopted, as amended.
It's been moved by Senator Schallenberg, seconded by Senator Warren. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Senator Schallenberg, would you like to carry this bill since it's Crawford County? Thank you. Appreciate that. Committee that see no further business coming before us today, give us a little bit of time to get out of the room on time. Thank you.